Good morning, good evening, and welcome to another episode of Crewzin to the Void. And this week we got something fun for you guys. I was sitting there watching the Pirates of the Caribbean, and within the Pirates of the Caribbean there's a mythical creature called the Kraken. Kraken has always lived within mysteries of kind of the modern era amongst the sea. Now, in the scene, Davy Jones calls the Kraken. Orlando Bloom's on the ship. The Kraken comes up, and if you don't know what the Kraken is, it's a giant octopus. I mean, literally the size of larger than ships, and all its tentacles come out. It grabs the ship and then rips it down to the ground, or rips it down underwater, absolutely destroying the ship and drowning everything it pulls down with it. Now, well, the Kraken is attacking your ship. You and your buddies are grabbing axes, you're grabbing cannons, muskets, you're shooting, firing away, and you're trying to take off pieces of this tentacle, and hopefully you can fight off the Kraken, but yet nobody ever. There are always some survivors, though. Now, they're left on boats, whatever, and in this particular case, Orlando Bloom survived it. Now, he has to make it back to shore. But what I was very curious about is what he would do with that Kraken meat, right? So like there's gotta be some Kraken tentacles just hanging around somewhere. And as the boys are coming to pick him up and like, brother, we got you, we're here to save you. And he's like, nah, look at all the tentacles I got. We're making calamari tonight, guys. Like, there's got to be an excitement there to find the food and to eat the Kraken. You know what I mean? So today we're going to go through a lot of mythical creatures and how I would cook them up. So first we're going to start with the Kraken. Obviously he's going to be deep fried. Yeah, we're dropping him in some oil or grilled over an open fire. I think that's the best way to take your Kraken, especially after you've gotten it fresh and chopped off. And then put a little rum glaze on it. You know what I mean? Now, like, and so other mythical creatures that we could possibly cook up and that might have died throughout their tenure, the basilisk in Harry Potter. That snake's just laying down there. Then you're telling me there ain't a single person, Hagrid ain't gonna go down there and be like, hey guys, you know, we could just skin it and then, you know, we can make leather out of all of it. We could then chop up. I've personally never had snake, but it's gonna probably be pretty lean, maybe poisonous if we don't cook it appropriately. So like, I'm gonna have to read a book on how to do that. But I think if we slow cook it, you know, put it in the crock pot for 10 to 12 hours, I think it could turn out all right. Toss in there some mandrake root. Ooh. Oh. Cup of broth, some garlic. Dude, that's how you cook up a basilisk, all right? That's some snake in there. Okay. All right. Here were some other ones we were thinking about. Now, if you've ever seen the Chronicles of Narnia, there are tons of beasts on the good and the bad side. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, I was like, man, all these things would be cooked up differently. Or if I had to harvest one of the Fenrirs and then skin it, I would use the pelt for something. But most likely that meat would probably be real stringy. Like it's some type of wolf, coyote. We would eat that, but we wouldn't. Wouldn't be my favorite. Then I moved down the line and I was like, okay, satyr's half human, half goat. Then I had a moral conversation with myself of, hey, if a satyr is half human and half goat, if I eat the top half, is that cannibalism? And if I eat the bottom half, I'm eating goat. Which, I mean, goat is all right. You can have decent goat stew, you know? But the question is like, what would the internal organs taste like? Would they taste more human or would they taste goaty? I guess like that's where I came into some of these moral conversations with myself and ran into some weird fences of like, okay, centaurs are great too, but centaurs are half human. So like you're eating the bottom half of horse, which isn't uncommon. Half the world eats horse. That's fine. Then the top half is human. So like what would you do with the top half? Would you like just, you know what I mean? How would you handle that? Would you just bury the top half and then harvest the bottom? I ran into this with several of these creatures. So for the sake of it, anything that had to do with half human, I kept out of the conversation because it brought me to a weird moral dilemma and I didn't know how to bring myself to it. At least for the top half. The bottom half was easy. But one of the big things that stood out in there, I was like, all right, I wonder what unicorn tastes like. Unicorn jerky would probably be great. Then I sat down for a little bit more and I'm like, ooh, they got bears. Bears would be awesome. Are you kidding me? Especially a bear that's been out at war and fighting for like 200 years. Oh, give it to me. Then I was like, and it dawned on me. There's a moment in the Chronicles of Narnia where the great Aslan sacrificed himself on the table, and the witch took that offering and left Aslan lying on the table. And then all the creatures came down and they ripped hair off of him. Yeah. And then the little girl stayed with him overnight and then he came back to life. But if she didn't stay with him overnight and Aslan were to keep staying on that table, let me tell you what the flank steak ass end of a lion that has been fighting evil for close to 1,000 years. Oh, baby! You put that thing on the smoker at 165. Oh. Little apple cider vinegar spray on there. Marinate it possibly beforehand with some honey. Oh! Baby! Are you kidding me? He tastes so good. He tastes great. I don't know why this wasn't part of the story or why we had to avoid that. I get the greater meaning of Aslan and what he was supposed to represent, but let me tell you, some just straight lion brisket, buddy. Oh, that's been fighting evil for close to 1,000 years. It's woo-wee. The tenderness, he's been fed, he's full. You've seen Aslan, he's a big boy, you know? And he's lean, too. The marbling in there, oh, that's some gorgeous looking meat. And then make some probably pulled brisket sandwich out of there. Or you take Aslan and you make some pulled Aslan sandwich, you know? Put a little Junction barbecue sauce on there. Some Ghost Train. Oh. With some ghost peppers. Oh. This is starting to make me water. Oh. And then one of the other creatures I was thinking about was Smaug, you know? Like that's one part. Thorin Oakenshield and his boys were coming in and they're like, we're gonna get Smaug out of here. And so they were marching their way on in and they're like, Frodo the Hobbit, you go take your ring and go get in there, buddy, and get him all fleshed out of there. Long story short, Frodo got him out. They shot him with the black javelin spear. He falls down to the ground. And you have to remember, Smaug was the size of the treasure room. He's not small, all right? everybody was like, ding dong, the wicked Smaug was dead. But I want to see somebody run over there with with a knife, start skinning him, and be like, brother, look at the ribs on this thing. We're going to cook them up. And then you basically have to turn a house into a smokehouse to smoke up the ribs of Smaug. It would be incredible. Put a little cayenne in the rub. Maybe a little bit kinders on top of that. Salt, pepper, garlic. Oh! Avocado oil. Oh man, on Smaug, and then smoke them up in there for a couple days. And then you could even like take a decent chunk of the back straps and make them into jerky. Brother. And the fact that most of these show or game shows, whatever, wherever you're taking this from, the myths behind and the characters didn't go into how they cook these things blows my mind, because they didn't bring them up in parties. They didn't, because if all these 5 armies are about to fight over the treasure, whatnot, all right, nobody's gonna take a day and be like, hey, we've got a 10-ton dragon over there. Let's go harvest it. You guys get to take the belly. We'll take the back straps and the ribs. You guys get the thighs. Like, just dap it up for a little bit and go take a break. Like, that's what I'm saying is you could feed an army with Smaug, and nobody wanted to fight over the body. Everybody just wanted to go get the gold. Resources, people. Resources. Let's also bring this back to Harry Potter now that I'm thinking about it. Nagini. The snake. Voldemort's snake. Would anybody want to eat that afterwards, or would you just skin it and, like, make it into boots? We really talked about what happened in... I think that's something we should address. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to Crewzin to the Void. My name's Chris, and join us every Thursday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, and all your favorite apps. Make sure to subscribe so that you see our new episode weekly.